Welcome to the Learning House again. I'm Corey, and today I'm meeting with Terry and Jennifer from AOP, Alpha Omega Press. Today we're going to chat about LifePac and other resources they make. Thanks for joining me today, ladies.
Thanks for having us. We're excited.
It's been fun getting to know you a little bit behind the scenes and learning more about Alpha Omega. A lot of stuff that, I've put my hands on these things now for years, but I don't know what the day-to-day looks like there and how Alpha Omega began. Thanks for telling me a little bit about this. Where did Alpha Omega begin and why were these resources created?
So we started back in, AOP began in 1977. So we've been doing this for a while. We started with LifePac. So that was our very first curriculum. And we started developing each grade level as we went. So kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. We have 5 core subjects for each grade level and then a variety of electives. So our 5 core subjects include math, language arts, science, history and geography, and Bible. Some of our electives include like consumer math, health, foreign languages, family and consumer science. So just a variety of different electives for middle school and high school students as well. But yes, so that's where we started. We develop everything in-house with our own, product development team. Everything is written and produced and made here at AOP. So we really just believe in homeschooling, and we really wanted to give parents a full curriculum. It's more than just a resource. It's a curriculum that parents can use for full education on homeschooling.
And this is a specifically Christian, these resources have specifically Christian content. Tell me a little bit about the Christian content in your resources.
So we believe in, we're non-denominational. So we have Christian content in our product, but we reference Bible verses and lessons, but we don't actually teach to one specific denomination. So we do leave that up to the parent, but it is our ultimate purpose here at AOP. Our actual mission statement, if we bring it out here, is to educate, inspire, change lives, but our vision is changing education for the glory of God.
That's great. And that dovetails so well with what we do here at the Learning House, which is why we've had this long ongoing relationship. We've been here for 30 years, and I think that we've been with AOP for most of those years. That we serve a very conservative crowd that tends to be mostly a Christian crowd, but we also serve other families who do not have a religious background. And it's always been our goal not to get into things that are denominationally aligned, because there's so many resources out there that could be, but that aren't, they would be appropriate for one family and not another. And it's important to us that we evaluate resources that would be appropriate for a Christian homeschooling family. So LifePac's always met that need. That's really, really important to us.
It's very flexible too in that sense too, because you don't even have to use our Bible. You can use the other 4 core subjects. The Bible verses and different things are still going to be incorporated into the language arts, but it's not doing the actual Bible lessons, because so many families do their own Bible study on the side. Separate. So,
yeah. And that would be the big difference that we're often telling families when they call. What's the difference between a core and a complete curriculum? The core doesn't include that Bible curriculum, because we recognize that a lot of families are doing specific Bible teaching and curriculum that is associated with their own church or family needs.
Correct. Yep. We run into the same exact thing.
But that doesn't mean if you take Bible out of these resources that we've taken the Bible out of the curriculum, that there is Christian content throughout the LifePac curriculum.
Correct. So for example, in language arts, they might be asked to, practice their penmanship and there's going to be a Bible verse that they have to rewrite. That kind of incorporation into all of the subjects, not just specific the Bible.
So that is core to what a lot of families want and need. Now, AOP provides more than just LifePac. There's Horizons. There's a couple of other options. Can you help me to sort through what it is that is the difference between LifePacs and Horizons specifically, and what other options you have as well?
Sure. So the other options that we have are going to be Ignite Christian Academy, which is our accredited online academy. So the parents join that if they want more of that private school setting. So we have online teacher support, transcripts, it's fully accredited, that kind of thing. So that's just our school, our accredited school.
Right.
If you're going for homeschool, then you would start into our options where we have Monarch, which is our online homeschool curriculum. You want to think about Monarch as having the same similar options to LifePac, where you have your core subjects and everything. It's just you're doing them online. So then you have that ability to incorporate the multimedia with videos and games and different things like that, automatic grading, all of the features that you can get with a computer curriculum. But then we have LifePac and Horizons, which are both workbook curriculums. So it becomes the very popular question is, what's the difference? You know, they come in the same format. So
yeah, I have a box here of Horizons. I have a box there of LifePac. It looks the same to me. What's the difference?
What we're really discussing here is what's the difference between mastery learning style and a spiral-based learning style. So that's the difference between LifePac and Horizons, is the actual learning style for the student. So with mastery learning, what most people are familiar with is that's what most people are familiar with, because it's structured like most people were educated. That was the main way of educating children. Most curriculum is mastery based, so that's why most people are most familiar with it. In a mastery based learning, you're mastering the concept before you move on to the next concept. So for example, if you're teaching addition and math, you're going to have a full page or two of practice problems with addition to make sure that you have that concept down before you're moving on to the next concept. That is LifePac. LifePac is a mastery learning based style. Then we have spiral learning. And spiral learning, the reason, what I always say is you think about it as a spring, because that's a spiral. And what happens is you have 2 or 3 practice problems on a concept that was introduced, and then you're moving on right away. The student doesn't have a lot of time to practice it. They're just introduced to the concept. And then after a couple more concepts, they're brought back to that same concept, to practicing it again and slowly building on that concept. So they might start with addition and they might come back to that a few times, have a few practice problems various times, but then all of a sudden they find themselves adding double digit numbers. So you're slowly starting to add on to the concept and build on it. It tends to move at a much faster pace. And it keeps, it's for more of those students who can lose attention pretty quickly. They are constantly moving on to different concepts and moving at a little bit of a faster pace. And that's what Horizons does. That's where Horizons is teaching for. So that's the main difference between LifePac and Horizons.
Good to know. That's good to know. And how about teacher involvement in these? Is it similar between LifePac and Horizons and the resources we use?
And that's different there as well. So LifePac, in the beginning stages, it's going to be the same. When we're looking at kindergarten, first grade, second grade, those grade levels, your parent involvement is there because you're teaching them how to read. You're teaching them their basic main skills. So you're going to be involved. But the difference between LifePac and Horizons is LifePac is an independent curriculum. So after you get past those initial stages, LifePac is training your student to become an independent learner. And
Mm-hmm.
so slowly, by the time you get to those middle school and high school ages, they're doing it on their own, and there's not a lot of parent involvement. Versus Horizons is focused in more on that hands-on parent activity. So you're doing different activities, things with them as they learn. So you're sitting next to them, taking that journey with them.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, physically, as a mom, one of the things I notice is when I open this box, the Horizons box has got a lot more teacher material than the LifePack box. And usually what I'm telling moms and dads is it's because the instruction material is in the student workbook in LifePack. So if
Right.
we're going to work on that together, we're going to work from the workbook together as opposed to a Horizons resource where I need to bring out the teacher's book to teach you from that so that you can then use those student worksheets.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
the teacher is more of a teacher in that Horizons model as opposed to LifePack, which is meant to be more student directed. And our teacher
more of an independent.
Independent and your teacher is your facilitator, is the one that says, did you get it done on time? Do you need help with the concepts? Let's get to the right pages. I'm going to mark those things, but I don't have to deliver the content because it is more independent for that student who can read.
Right.
Is that a good summary?
That's perfect. Yes.
Okay. Any other big differences between Horizon and LifePack?
With just to point out more on what you just referenced, with LifePack, you have 10 student work texts. The student is learning and writing within that work text. So if you want to think about, a textbook has different units in it, but it's a big, thick book.
This is one of those little units.
Right. So what you want to think about is that large textbook. What we did was we just separated it into its separate units. So it's in more of a friendly way, a more approachable way to complete the work. And so handing them this large, heavy textbook, it's one unit at a time, one workbook at a time.
Right. I'm looking at this here, but here the Horizons books, and this one even is subdivided. I'm looking at a phonics book, and there's 4 of them, but they're much bigger.
For kindergarten.
Yeah. Right. So with LifePack, you have those really thin 10 workbooks. It adds up, but you have 10 of them. With Horizons, like you said, it's going to be mainly for, if you're looking at math, you have 2 of those student workbooks. They're perforated edges because they're designed to be worksheets. It's not a full, robust, actual textbook content like you would find with LifePack. Instead, it's more teacher driven. You're doing activities and different things. The books are actually just mainly worksheets for them to practice.
That's so important for parents. Like we often don't know when we come into this homeschooling thing that I have this preconceived notion that it's not going to work unless I'm teaching you how to do it, or it's not going to work if I'm teaching you how to do it. Like our families have each a different way that we're wired. And for some families, they'd say, there's no way I could do it without a teacher guide. And then there's others who say, I am so glad that it's all there in that little LifePack book. And we often say with families, like, you've got 10 of these little books. It looks like whatever you want it to look like, but it could look like this is September's book, and this is October's book, and this is November's book. And it makes it a lot less overwhelming for our little people who go, you've got this stack of books this high.
Yeah.
It can
be LifePack is more portable as well.
It is very portable, and it does go to many of our families who are taking them overseas and serving in places where they don't have a lot of access to going back and forth to bookstores and libraries. So
LifePack also has an exam at the end of each unit, so you can see, if a child's ready, because it is mastery based, to move on to the next unit. So in each booklet, there is an exam. And then I believe there's a second exam in the teacher guide that's with it, correct, Terry? That if you need a second exam, so you have to review, go back, and then give another exam, that's available for LifePac as well. So you are able to make sure, being the child is teaching themselves, you do have a checks and balances there, so you're able to see that they were able to learn proficiently in that lesson and are ready to move on.
Yeah, and that's so important that
it is, especially in independent study where they're more self,
And so we see families using these in homeschool, obviously, but we also see small independent schools where they have a teacher facilitator overseeing many students who have to work independently as well, because they've got kids in 3 or 4 or 5 different grades all in one little schoolhouse, and they have to oversee what's going on there. So it's nice to be able to have that review and check process, and to be acting more as a facilitator for families.
Right.
Like that. Very neat. So you have said, Teri, and I just wanted to expand on this a little bit, that families can use a full grade kit, or they can use just a piece like grade 6 science. What would they get the most out of? Like, do I miss something if I am just using the 6th grade science? Is it going to refer to my 6th grade language arts, and then I'm going to be a little confused? Or is it quite self-contained that I could pick out the resources that I need?
It is very self-contained. So, we have it where it's a full package where you purchase that, you have everything you need for that grade level. A lot of parents who are just starting to homeschool and they're not sure what curriculum they want to choose for every single subject will come to, or recommended to come to LifePac, because it's a nice complete package you can purchase. You have everything covered. You don't have to worry about, making sure everything is being taught that year, or learning gaps or different things like that. But after you get established in homeschooling, what you find is you use different subject or different curriculums for different subjects, and you use a variety. Or you might love this kind of science curriculum for this student, but the other student does better in a different science curriculum. So that's what's nice about LifePac, is you can pick out those subjects. You don't have to use all of them. They're not tied in with each other in any way that way. You can use the 6th grade science separate from, you don't have to then also use our language arts and our history. There's no reference within the science to those other subjects. They are independent of each other.
And one thing, it's so true. Talking to families who are just starting to homeschool, a lot of times they go, I just don't know what to do. I'm so overwhelmed. There's so many things to think about. If I can just start with grade 6 and know that I've started with grade 6, and then tweak things later on. And one thing in particular that I've chatted with you about is that we're in Canada. And so many times families will say, this is a great resource, I really like it, but it's not got Canadian social studies in it. And those are the ones where sometimes families will say, we've really enjoyed what we've done with LifePac, but it's time to switch out the social studies, the history, geography portion, for something that is Canadian specific. And like AOP is produced in the States, just like most of our resources. There's lots more people, there's lots more books down there. And so we bring them up here, but often what families are finding is that there's not Canadian social studies in their pre-made curriculum. And they will find that LifePac does have a lot of the social studies. Maybe this year is a world geography year, or this year is a world history year. And so it still does apply to our young learners who do need to know about world geography and world history. Secondly, they may look at it and say, hey, it's good for us to learn our American social studies, because it helps us to be well educated anyways. And we would like to know our American social studies. But thirdly, Canadian social studies, we do want them to have, so we can either add that or switch those out. And we do have good resources for that. So those families who start out and say, I want a full grade kit this year, but next year I want to tweak it a little bit. A lot of times that's the pieces that they want to tweak. And you can do it.
Yep. Exactly. And, it can even be broken down by unit, really. So there's 10 units within each subject. Let's say that 8 out of the 10 of that history specific year for history and geography applies, but the other 2 don't. You can purchase just those individual units. You don't even have to purchase the project. So very customizable that way.
And LifePack comes with a wonderful resource, a scope and sequence that will tell you what's taught each year, each subject.
Yeah.
So you're able to see what the 10 units are, what they're addressing. And so that's also helpful after you take placement testing. And another positive thing about LifePack is, say you're in 5th grade math, but your child's in 6th grade language, you're able to buy the different grade levels as well. And so that's something you can look at as well. Being Canadian, you can see what's taught in our history, by looking at the scope and sequence. And hopefully we've heard great things about the scope and sequence and what a wonderful resource it is.
The scope and sequence, and you mentioned placement tests as well.
Correct.
Super, super valuable for homeschooling families, and especially for families that are just starting out or that are switching curriculums. Not every math curriculum is designed the same. Some of them are very rigorous and move ahead quickly. Some of them are very gentle, and some are very hands-on, some are very this, that, the other thing. And if you're switching or if you're new to homeschooling, we really recommend families do placement tests, because it will help you to get into the right level and not frustrate or bore your child by being at the wrong level. Often helps us to see, you know what, this resource would work better for us than that resource. And also just to save parents money. We don't want them buying stuff that they write in the first 3 books or the first book and go, yeah, that was the wrong one. We don't want you to have to do that, because we know that homeschooling parents largely are working on a different economy, that a lot of moms are stay-at-home moms that are not bringing in the income that they could be doing if they were not educating their children at home. So we work really hard to make sure that you don't buy stuff that's the wrong level, that's the wrong books. And placement tests are so helpful with that. So we do have them on our website, especially with language arts and math. That's where you're going to find your placement tests. Look at it. If you think that LifePack grade 6 math is the right place to be, do the placement test first, because often our homeschool materials do move faster and more rigorously than what your students may have been used to in a public school classroom or with a different resource. So we'd rather that they got into the right thing.
Just helps avoid frustration all around for the parent, for the child, if you fit curriculum to them and their level. So.
And we also touched on doing things like science resources and having things available. We have available things like science experiment DVDs if you want to see what the science experiments look like. And we also have available some third-party kits that pull together all of those resources that you might need to do the experiments, just to make this pop off the page a little bit. Give students the ability to get their hands on and to do that learning in a more tangible way. Some of those things are nice to have for families. Optional.
Yeah, that's a great partnership between the two of us, because, that's something that we can't even offer, because we don't sell other materials. We only have created our own materials. So you guys have all of those learning resources for like the science materials that we can give you guys a list. You can put that kit together ahead of time. So the parent doesn't have to go digging for all of those things. So with you guys, they can not only, just purchase the curriculum, but then also all of the supplies that they're going to need in order to execute that.
And one thing that I really value about resources like LifePack is that when it asks me to do an experiment with my kids, usually it's stuff that I have around the house. I can grab at the grocery store or the pharmacy or the dollar store or whatever. It's not asking me to invest in some like crazy big resources. It helps, and it's been a ton of fun to have things like a microscope in high school. But there's options for us to do that without, or to just use those things around our house. And I like having that. It makes it approachable for a family who's on a budget. But our kits, our science kits, are often that thing that just helps to go, okay, I don't want to go out and buy a package of styrofoam cups when we don't use styrofoam cups and I only need one. And I don't want to have to go to the store and buy iodine when I don't use iodine, and this is just for the science experiment, or just to cut down the running around. So they help, but they are discretionary things, but they're nice things to add on.
The DVD helps as well, as just it kind of gives you a basis, a start. It doesn't go completely through, answering every question, but it gives you the basic experiment and gives you an idea of what you're learning. Like in the example of an object floats or not, it's going to do a few of those objects and show you. And so the DVD also is a great resource on that. Again, to help parents, say per se you don't have that equipment or the ability to get this stuff, you're still able to see the lab experiment done and to get the basic understanding or theory behind it.
And we know that there's times when families, it's just so busy. Many kids, different grades, too many things going on. Turn on the DVD. At least you saw what was in the experiment. And I've been that mom, with kids in all the different grades and like Terry, and the DVDs are very economical.
They are.
A couple of things I wanted to just revisit. We chatted before about Monarch, Ignite Academy, the 4 different kind of brand names, I guess, that you have. Ignite Academy and Monarch are ones that we will direct our families to go and use, but we don't sell ourselves. And we've looked at those and the availability. And I mean, I was talking to you ladies just before we chatted. I was talking to a mom and just chatting through the resources that we needed, or that she had, that she was talking about needing. I recommended her to go and look at some stuff that we don't specifically sell, but that you guys provide. So we will recommend people to do that. But for anybody who has been homeschooling for a while and isn't familiar with it, Monarch is the digital version that used to be available in a DVD or a stick as switched on Schoolhouse. So that has, if that's something that you've used previously, and parents will call us and say, where's the switched on Schoolhouse? We don't have that anymore. Monarch is that. It's just through a streaming platform. And so
it does. And it addresses grades 3rd through 12, or however you would say that. Yes. So yes, it doesn't, Monarch doesn't start until 3rd grade, right, Terry, about that level?
Okay. Very good to know.
So something to keep in mind. Where the print starts, Horizon starts in preschool. We even have a preschool to 3s. And then Life and goes, it depends on the subject. Horizons will only, like math goes up to 8th grade. Spelling goes up to 3rd grade. And so, but it does have preschool curriculum, where the LifePac starts in kindergarten and goes through to 12th grade. So just something else to keep in mind. And I believe the Academy does preschool to 12th grade, right, Terry? I believe. They're pre-K, I believe.
I don't think so, but
okay.
Don't quote me on that.
Okay. And so good to know, though, that there are different grades and availabilities. Monarch 3 through 12, the Ignite Academy through more grades. LifePac is a K to 12 availability, and Horizons is not full grade kits. You can't do a grade 4 Horizons, grade 5.
Actually,
Horizons.
You can, but for example, Horizons does not do history and geography, science, Bible. So you can do a full kindergarten kit and you get everything that Horizons has to offer for kindergarten, which is phonics and reading, math. There's penmanship included, there's spelling included. So you can get full grade level packages, but you're still to supplement something for your science and your history.
Okay. I guess that's what I should say is that I will be using other curriculum to fill out my horizons. Whereas with LifePac, I can say, I checked it off. I got it. The box is here. We're ready to go.
One box, I'm good to go.
Right. And Horizons also tops out at 8th grade. There isn't high school materials of Horizons except for health.
Health? Yeah, health.
Mhm.
And PE.
Okay. Health and PE. Okay. The other thing that is worth chatting about with our family is that you use these words accredited with regards to Ignite Academy. And our families need to know that this is a kind of a nebulous thing to be accredited, but the big idea is that often when we are talking within our own context, we're talking about being accredited within our own provincial guidelines. And the only thing that is accredited in that sense is what is your own provincial accreditation. So oftentimes I'm in Ontario, families will say, I want an accredited program, and we have to differentiate. Do you want a program that has an oversight to it where there is that third party looking at the integrity of this education? Or do you want something that says this meets Ontario curriculum standards? Those are two different things, and they're very valuable in different ways.
Mhm.
So our families need to look at what accreditation means, because a lot of times we're thinking with regards to our own provincial standards. So while the accreditation standards are very high and strong with something like Ignite Academy, they don't specifically, they aren't reviewed by our provincial
Right.
accreditation bodies. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. That's a great way to describe it. There can't be, how I try to explain it when parents have questions about accreditation is here in the US is a product like a book can't be accredited.
Mm-hmm.
It's a book. But what can be accredited is an entire school or organization. So they can use that book, but it comes with so much more. It's an organization, it's a process, it's teacher support, it's all of those things that this accrediting organization says meets their standards.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I try to explain it to parents. And I think your explanation is spot on as well. It's basically the same idea here.
Mm-hmm. And we're always, especially having conversations about towards the end of our homeschool journey, what does grade 10, 11, 12 look like? What does entry into college or university or other post-secondary options look like? Parents are saying, how do I show that this is legitimate education? And that legitimizing of what we've done often helps to have an accredited source, but not every school will recognize every accreditation. And so we always talk about, we need to have some sort of a measurable that next educator recognizes, so that they know that that our kids have a high quality of education. Because it's never enough to go to university and say, I want to go to your university. My mama learned me up good, and she think I'm real smart. Like, we have to be able to give bones to that, like to say, I've made this student a transcript, or Ignite Academy has made this student a transcript, but there's something else that we all recognize is a standard by which we can measure whether this student is properly educated. And here in Canada, there's a lot of different methods for that. And we always recommend talking to next educators and say, have you got some experience with the accreditation body that oversees Ignite Academy, or do you have experience with some other accreditation procedure? So usually we can take this education and show measurement of it somehow.
One thing I always recommend to, like, at the high school levels is when that really becomes important, because what that next step requires, So usually high school students start looking at, okay, what am I going to be doing after graduation? And so a lot of students will have a general idea, at least limited down to, 3 or 4 different options on what they want to do after they graduate by the time they're in 10th, 11th grade. So if you have those options and you want to explore them, let's say it is to go to a certain university. Check those universities out, see what their requirements are. Do they require accreditation? If they do, then, at 11th grade, you can still enter our Ignite Christian Academy and receive that accreditation and that official diploma. So it's not too late to make sure you have what you need for that next step, if that's a possible next step. So it's never too early to start looking into those things and change your course as well.
And there's the option to still do that mixing and matching. We really want the paper courses for this, and this, but it would help to have interaction on this level. I know that I can do individual courses with Monarch. I'm not sure, is that possible with Ignite as well?
Yes, it definitely is. You can enroll for just a semester if you need to as well. It all depends on what you need.
Excellent. I've asked you a ton of questions. We've chatted a lot, and I've learned a ton through this. Thank you for taking the time. Tell me, what would you most like if I had sort of an overarching goal? What do you most want families to get out of using LifePac and Horizons materials?
Oh, that's a big, heavy question.
I was like, you go ahead, Teri.
Well, our vision is definitely changing education for the glory of God. And our mission is to educate, inspire, and change lives, right? So really our mission here is to create homeschool curriculums and products that make it easier for parents to homeschool, that option to have homeschooling and everything that brings. They're choosing homeschool for a lot of different reasons, but there's a lot of benefits that come with that. We don't want parents sitting there spending weeks at a time trying to prep lessons and different things. These are already put together. You're teaching your student what they need to know. You're doing it in a way that's worked for millions of students before with mastery or with spiral-based learning. And then you don't have to spend that time doing that. You can spend your time, enjoying your children. 3 or 4 hours of home education, and you can go, spend time in the garden and learn life lessons, or in the kitchen doing a recipe and learning measurements, or that real hands-on life experience and just experience your family. Homeschooling is more than just the education part of it. It's a whole vibe. I don't know how to say that. So
it's a lifestyle for sure.
It is, and LifePac definitely makes that possible, I think. So that's really our mission is just to give parents quality materials that they can use to do that, and it's not it's aiding in their health of their family and their education of their children.
Excellent. We that's something I've definitely seen a change in over the years. It's just the moms are busy. I've been homeschooling for more than 20 years. I've been a busy mom, but I was mostly at home with my children, not also being one of the key bread earners in our family. And that is a privilege that many homeschool moms have, but there's many, many, many moms that are homeschooling now that are also, helping to keep the family business going. They're working part-time or even full-time in or out of their homes. They're busy, but they're living life on a budget. It's expensive to live with a family nowadays, especially in the more urban parts of our country. It's just so expensive. So we know that moms have limited time, limited budgets, and LifePac really is a very economical option for those moms and dads who are saying, as compared to something like private school, this is a phenomenal opportunity for our children to get school done in a timely manner so that we can go on to those other things as well that are a part of that lifestyle that we want in homeschooling, to have the flexibility to say, this morning we went out and did that field trip, or we're helping with things on the farm, or we are a part of growing that garden, or and working school to be a part of that whole family economy and lifestyle, which is homeschooling. So it's neat to see more people getting access to and being able to join in the homeschool lifestyle, even when it's not just stay-at-home moms who have, just a few kids that they're focusing on, but there's so many responsibilities that we have in life.
Right. Hopefully, LifePac makes homeschooling available to a lot more parents.
For sure. In whatever way that it serves your family, whether it's full grade kits or bits and pieces that meet the needs of your family. So, Jennifer, Teri, do you have any last thoughts or tips for us to make homeschooling help students thrive with learning with LifePac materials?
I would say the main tip that we hit on, if you're new to the product, go to those placement tests. You're going to save yourself a lot of time and frustration, because those placement tests aren't only going to tell you where to start within the product, but also they're going to highlight any areas your student might be struggling in that you need a little additional help on. So I would say that was probably a really great tip. And just look at the material and see if your student would be, better suited for a mastery type of learning, or if a spiral-based learning would be better. We have options for so many different learning styles. So just feel free to ask us or Learning House, and we're happy to help you and happy to talk about ourselves. So.
And we have a customer service team that loves to connect with families one-on-one, make sure that they have the right pieces, but they're also answering those questions. What's the difference between this and this? And what pieces do I need? And should I start here or there? Or what are your ideas about? They're super, super, super helpful that way. And they love to connect with people. And if there's stuff that they can't answer, they're bringing stuff to me, they're bringing stuff to Louise, who's our other curriculum consultant, and we obviously, you guys know, we bring stuff to you and ask you questions too if we don't know what the answer is. And people come up with these things that I'm like, I never thought of that question. Let's ask Jennifer.
No, that's perfect.
A long time, and just when I think that, okay, I've heard it all now, there's always something that'll come out, and you're like, I've never heard this question before.
We can always learn.
Yeah. And there's always somebody creatively thinking of something that has never come up before. I think somebody called and said, my child really loves snakes and they need to learn to read. Do you have a snake-themed phonics? And I'm like, no, I don't. Maybe there's some things that just haven't been invented yet.
It would make sense so you could make the letters.
So wow, there's always something more we can think of. So I appreciate you guys being available and having this chat and taking the time today. We kind of got a little bit into the nitty-gritty, but LifePac is our packages that you can get, individual units. You can get a full subject per grade. You can get a full grade kit and then meet these out with your children and be the facilitator of their education, helping them to go through, work in a timely manner, to find answers, to seek out those skills that they need for learning to study and being their marker and being their cheerleader, as opposed to Horizons, where we have full grade kits or full subject kits that have a lot more teacher materials that you would go through with your student, and then worksheets that you would give to them. So thanks for taking the time today, ladies. This has been fun.
Thanks for having us. This has been fun.
It has. And thank you for what you do, Corey, and to the Learning House. You've been doing this for a very long time as well. So we appreciate you as well.
Thanks. It's our passion to work with families as they do education well. And we happen to do it with a lot of good books and working with a lot of other people too. So I appreciate that. Thanks for joining me.
All right. Thank you.